Wrexham. Incredible experience for our young guys to get to play in front of that crowd for as long as it lasted until the Lightning came through at halftime. But I thought on the day it was an even game, chances on both sides, but really from our perspective, we couldn't be more pleased for our young players to go out there and get a result against a proper team. And from my perspective in particular, the growth of our team from the start of the season.
Coach, obviously I know it's hard probably to take your mindset off of league play and focus on this big occasion, but overall, how pleased were you with the guys? Obviously, probably could have even snatched the game, but with the amount of chances, which I'm sure you guys will look at. But overall, what were your thoughts on just the performance and the energy from the guys?
Yeah, the transition from the league was pretty easy because this game has been on the calendar for so long now, literally almost 2.5 years, I think. And it finally got played, so we knew it was there and we knew it was waiting for us. This week in Columbus was a tricky week for us because the same storm type of system came through on Monday and backed us up a day. But I was really pleased with the guys turning around and getting the result in Columbus. And so as we headed into this game, the guys were just really excited. I think just the buzz about the game, knowing it was pretty close to being a sellout tonight, and probably the largest crowd I think they'll probably ever see a second team play. The guys were really excited to play. And that's a good team, by the way, especially for a team like ours that's fielding 16 and 17-year-olds all over the place, you know. But you take your hats off to the kids because that team probably on average is 5-6 years older than us. And I thought, for the most part, we helped them dangerous outside of set pieces and throwing. That was probably our biggest obstacle, the physicality of those two moments. But in the run of play, I thought we were pretty staunch defensively. And then as the game wore on, we seemed to get a little bit better and better. That's pretty telltale for our young people.
Marlon, good evening. You mentioned the crowd, obviously, and I hate to use the word circus, but obviously Wrexham and all the attention that they bring to the show and the genius mind behind the two owners who really elevated this club. What was the message to the team to kind of keep their heads level, right, with all the attention that comes with it? What was that message like for you during the week, obviously after the Columbus match?
Yeah, it was to not make it more than what it was. I think I kind of put it in a little bit of perspective for them. 15,000, 16,000 here, 90+ thousand it can't do. So there's another level, and it's nowhere near the most difficult level. So it was just a soccer game at the end of the day. There was going to be an energy and excitement and a buzz about playing in front of that big of a crowd. But I think what we tried to get into them was just don't make it more than it needs to be. Just go out and compete, try and block out all the extra noise, just play the way that you can play. I thought it took us a little while to settle in. Some guys had some nerves at the beginning of the game, but once we settled in, we were okay.
So you mentioned the nerves. What do you make of Castillo's performance? It seemed like the first half he was a little shaky. Some passes were maybe 1 or 2 feet beyond the player, and then maybe the second half he obviously the second half after 2 hours settled himself and had a better game. But what do you make of his performance?
Yeah, he was
because I saw you talking to him.
He's a young player, yeah. We had a conversation with him. I think certainly he was one that was probably evidently really, you could tell and see the nerves. And it took till halftime to get in there and just kind of maybe shake the nerves out of him a little bit. But he did. He settled in the game and had a much better second half, much more confident second half. I think as much as you want to preach about kind of getting the guys to settle down, it's different. It's coming from me is one thing, but actually getting out there and doing it is another. And it just took them a while to get settled into the game. Luckily enough, we were able to get into halftime at 1-1, and he got a restart on the game. So I thought in the second half he came out and did a really good job.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach, you talked about knowing the big crowd was coming. How much did that influence your selections for tonight, and how many positions out there is this a big test for?
Yeah, well, I think the first influence for me is always going to come from Jim and Ernest and what they want to do with some of the guys that come down. So once we add Quinn Sullivan, Jeremy Raffanello, and Chris Donovan, it's how do we now put the pieces together that give us the best attempt at attacking them the way we want to tackle them, defending them the way we want to defend them, but more importantly, staying true to who we are in the second team. So move some pieces around a little bit in the midfield. Use David Vasquez at the tip, and it was really important to me that some of those young guys got some exposure out there too, the ones that have really been playing a lot for the second team. CJ Olney, David Vasquez, Andy Rick, Danny Kruger, those guys are all teenagers, literally, that were playing U17 football, a couple weeks ago. And so it was important for me that our fans got to see some of these young guys that we're talking about, some of what will be the next generation of first-year footballers here. And I think you saw some moments out of all of those guys today that you sit there and you go, okay, these guys doing some good things in the second team and in the academy. So it's a little bit of a blend of everything. It's easier when there's no academy football going on because I don't have to manage players going into 17s in important games as well. But yeah, it's more a matter of just trying to fit the pieces in that come from the top down. And Ernst is in the coach's office saying, what's your plan? And gave them the plan. So they're not necessarily telling me what to do with them, but we're finding ways to put them in positions that they're going to continue to get better. Obviously, get those important minutes, but how Jim can hopefully utilize them moving forward.
What do you guys like about Andy so much?
Andy Rick, yeah. I mean, look, you look at him out there and he's dealing with these crosses on these corner kicks and these long throws, and he's 17 years old and he's probably 150 pounds soaking wet right now. We're going to work with him and get him there, but he's brave, he's confident. His space defense is excellent, right? You saw him a couple times covering the back four when they tried to play it behind us. I think Andy's come such a long way. He's been with us for quite some time. It's only this year that he's really started playing with the second team. But his maturity for a 17-year-old to play in a game like that, you wouldn't guess by the performance that he was only 17. Confident, strong, commanding of his back line, and really, really good space defense.
Thanks. And last one for me. Did it surprise you at all to see Jeremy get his moment in a game like this?
I think it came off of Vasquez, but Jeremy's saying it's his.
Any final questions in the room? Just, you guys go undefeated through the month of July, whether you see this as kind of like a hurdle overcome or whatever you guys look at it as, how does this set you guys up with a draw in this match for the rest of league play?
Yeah, I think what people don't understand is at the beginning of the year for us, there's a lot of moving parts. And we have a first team that's unbelievable. So they qualify for every competition under the sun this year. A year ago, we had so many of our young guys, Paxton guys, Jackie Glenn, Jesus Bueno, all those guys were coming in second team minutes. This year, there hasn't been that flexibility to do that. And so we got off to a slow start, but not because we weren't playing well. We're ticking a lot of boxes, just weren't getting results. As the year has gone on, our consistency has gotten better, and really, ever since the end of the U17 playoffs and kind of now just a more steady schedule for the first team, we've been able to settle in. And all that, saying all that, we've gone to the last number of games, maybe 16, 17, 18 players. We haven't even had a full bench all these games. But what we have had is a consistent group. So we've been able to stabilize the group through their efforts, and their performances, and their commitment. Having the same group in the training session every day helps build that stability. And so our last loss was to Chicago here, 5-2, with a very, very fit team. We had 14 players, maybe 15 on the day. But since then, we've really gotten into a rhythm and gotten into a flow. The group is very, very confident. But I can tell you right now, they didn't bat an eye playing this game. They were very excited to play the game. And they were not afraid. Maybe some nerves from our own fans and wanting to play well in front of our own fans more than it was anything to do with Wrexham. It had everything. This match, I think, was a culmination of a fantastic. I say it's about 6 weeks now. All of July. I think we won the last game in June as well. I can't remember who it was again. So 6 games unbeaten, and I think our trajectory right now is going in a positive way. So positive enough that I gave them the next 2 days off.